independent in this life. So many
regularly and often, but not this early. We used to come at 7. I don't know who decided to change it to 5:30, but not a bad idea. In fact, I remember our very first meeting went till 2 a.m. It was stupid, totally stupid. And you all understand that, you know. So I have a take one of these packets. We are again in the midst, as you know, of planning and being prepared for America's Freedom Festival at Provo. And I, for one, am very delighted to have at Provo on the name of this great festival. And it means a lot to those of us in the office and on the board to participate with you as kind of the base for our Provo activity. If you haven't received the magazine, you have a copy of the magazine there in our folder. It'd be interesting. How many of you have received it in the mail? Really? Let's see. You live in Provo, right? We are, for the first time, going to have a sticker on the magazine that has Google Fiber. We've worked out an arrangement with them, and so the areas that have not yet had an opportunity to sign up for Google Fiber will have a sticker on their magazine as they get it in the mail. So we know must be coming from the north, because we've got reports from Lehigh and American Fork. In fact, North Orem indicated they had their magazines already. So you now have one, and we appreciate the good work of Stephen Hales Creative in helping us produce this magazine. Thank you very much, Steve.
Paul, the Google Fiber sticker just goes to the Provo zip codes?
Right, yeah. It'll just go to our neighborhood, in fact, those that haven't yet had a chance to sign up. So as you look at the magazine, one of the things that we appreciate is the fact that Provo is one of our major sponsors, and your first ad, if you don't like the ads of Provo, then don't talk to us. You might talk to those to my right. But I don't know who does it, but on page 5 is the first full page about Provo's national rankings. And I think that's really a clever and good ad there. And I hope people are voting right now for Provo. Then on page 11, they wanted to do something about 311, and so you have an ad, and I don't know who posed for the picture, but she knows how to twist her lips just a bit. So that is there, and then on the very back page, back inside cover, you have one about zombies, which I guess is one of the plays coming to the Covey Center, and that was going to be there in October. So we had to add 8 pages to the magazine, so it was a little heavier this year and a little bit more expensive at the mailbox, but we just appreciated the sponsorships that make possible this great endeavor. We showed it at our chair meeting not long ago and handed this out, and one of the women started to cry as she looked at the cover, because her boy's one of those carrying flags, and she was very touched to see her son carrying a flag there in the parade. So any questions about the magazine? We did 193,000 this year. So that's how many homes. They actually go to the different homes, northern or southern Salt Lake County, all of Midway and Heber, and then the entire Utah County get this magazine delivered to their homes. So we feel it gives really great coverage, and our ticket sales for Stadium of Fire went up over the weekend quite drastically once the magazine started to hit. So we appreciate the impact it has. There are tickets still for sale. If anybody says, is the Stadium of Fire sold out, you can say emphatically, no, it is not. And there are tickets still available to a show that's going to be super. It really will be a wonderful evening. So I'd like just for a minute to go through the items there on the other side of the booklet about some of the things we found out in a survey that we took and got a pretty good response We covered this with the mayor not long ago, but you'll notice in terms of people who come into Provo, how often do you purchase tickets? That about 30% come every year to Stadium of Fire. That's just something they do. And then you get a group that goes occasionally, and we had just over 20% last year that came for the first time to Stadium of Fire. We worry a little bit about surveys, as you'll notice the very bottom of that first page. When did you purchase your tickets? January. There was a small percentage that bought them, and we wondered where they bought them because they didn't go on sale until March. So you have to question a little bit of what people are, and I think sometimes people go to surveys and just want to mark something, get on with this thing. So the next page, how did you feel about the different parts of the show? You can see what a variety there is, but nothing stood out higher than another. Most everything that went on, people appreciated. We felt last year's show was one of the best we've had, and it moved smoothly. There weren't any downtime, and it just really, at least from our vantage point and the vantage point of the feedback, was very good. You'll notice the fireworks was almost the top thing, and fireworks this year will last for about 20 minutes. That's the plan, and so those were ordered in December and have arrived, and we're grateful for that. My top 3 preferences for future Stadium of Fire entertainers. Taylor Swift has been on top for some time. Let me just tell you, in confidence of the thousands watching us on the internet, we can't afford her. We made every attempt to talk to Taylor Swift's people, and we were told that we didn't have enough money in Provo to have Taylor Swift. So for about a 50-minute exercise, we didn't have enough. So you see, Carrie Underwood came in second, and we're grateful to have her back. She did a great job 4 years ago. She has a great attitude. She has a good image, and we're just grateful that she was desirous of coming back and being with us again. On the next page, you can find that the email is now the main way of people finding out anything. As you know, people just live on their email, their smartphone, or whatever it is, their laptops. They just emails the thing. So we do a lot of email blasts. We have a database of somewhere around 40 or 50,000 names that we use from people who bought tickets in the past, and we also had Carrie Underwood's people do some emailing for us, and that's been the main way that we do things. The last item there is the economic impact, and we think this is one of the blessings of the festival to Provo. As you look at the figures, about 50% of the people who attend Stadium of Fire are from Utah County, 50%. About 20 to 25% come from Utah, and the other 25% come from out of the state of Utah. A lot of them, we get calls right after we're through for the year of, hey, when is it going to be this year, and how soon can we start getting tickets? And we just are appreciative of the number who come in and look forward to being in Provo for the July 4th celebration. So on the bottom line there from last year's, we have estimated, based on, again, the information that we gather in terms of how much people spend for motels, food, gas, and other things that pertaining to the festival, that about $13 million comes into the county and into the city because of the festival. And we think, I think as we talked, Wayne, there's quite a tax base that is blessed because of that amount of money. So that's where we are. We'd like to invite all of you to know, I understand you're working out arrangements for the parade. There's some difficulty with the conveyance you used last year, and so you're looking at some other, I don't know who they're working with, but somebody is, Louise, I think, is doing some of that. Any questions? Prayer breakfast. We've got Kim's going to be with us. The mayor's out of town, I know, or some of the rest of you are going to be Friday at 9 o'clock, Marriott, for, so do we know? Is everybody, Hal, I think we got yours and Kim's.
Yes, you should know. We responded.
Steve, and you're gone. David, you know, this is at 9 in the morning. Okay. So if you just let us know, Gary.
I responded, so
okay.
I'm yes.
And Kay, you're great. Love to have your helpers too. So the other thing that we're really anticipating is having Laura Bush come to town. And Garrett's been very much involved with bringing Laura Bush to Provo, Utah. She'll stay at the Marriott, and she's going to do an excellent job talking about what we believe in here in Utah County. So the tickets are free. You can get some reserved tickets by coming to the office. You'll get the ones you need. If you just let Gary know the number that you need, we'll make sure that you can have reserved seating there. This is June 29th, Sunday night in the Marriott Center, and it's at 7 p.m. And we're really anticipating, we've got really good reviews having her come and join with us in Provo. So with that, we thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without Provo City. It really is it's the best place to do it, number one. And number two, your support makes it the best place to do it. So thank you. Any questions you have about what we're doing, or Kim?
I just wanted to cast a vote for Garth Brooks. I see he's last on your list of preferred entertainers. That's really disappointing.
Well, he's not. Those are people who wrote on the survey.
Right.
We've had him on our list twice. In fact, this year, he was one of the very first ones we contacted, and he's going on tour starting in August, and he told us, I will not be ready to start in July, and so I'm sorry. But this is about the second or third time we've made a real attempt. We'd love to have Garth Brooks, too.
It's great.
We want anybody that'll sell tickets.
He'll sell tickets, I think. I just want to tell you thank you. Our family, we go every year and absolutely love it. In fact, we have a pretty good view of the stadium from our backyard, so we usually have 40 people at our house that have a party without us because we like to go to the stadium and see the show. It's always fantastic. Thank you
very much. Mayor?
I would also like to thank you and the committee and so many people that work really hard to pull this off. As I talk to other cities about their festivals, the amount of time and energy and resources that it takes away from a city are really difficult, and we can't do it near as well as you do it, so thank you. I'd also like to give Nu Skin a shout out. I noticed they're on the front of your brochure and on the back. I'm assuming they're a major sponsor. But I also know this can't be done without sponsors. Right. So my appreciation to your sponsors who really chip in and make this a successful event. We really, we've thanked Gary numerous times, and Nu Skin and Provo, and the county helps us a great deal. Those probably are three major sponsors, is those Provo City, Utah County, and Nu Skin. And we'd be hard pressed to do it. And of course, Steve steps up with this magazine. This magazine costs about with the mail, it's probably about $85,000 cash out of hand to get this out, and then the program's another $9,000 or $10,000. So it is a major, but people like it, and we know it makes a lot of difference. It sits on tables for a long time as people go through it. So we really, so we'll look forward to all this. July 2nd's the gala, and I know the tickets, there's a package of tickets that come, and we get it to the administration, and if there are extra tickets that you need, or one, if you'll just work with Wayne, I think Wayne's been kind of our key point and contact man, we'll be happy to do more. But again, thank you. It's a delight to live in Provo, and I really appreciate what you do, and I know the time you spend, and I know the effort it is to make sometimes some very difficult decisions. So thank you again for your support.
Mr. Warner, thank you. More power to you. Public comment segment of this meeting is an opportunity for any person in attendance to comment on matters that do not appear on the official agenda. Should you wish to make a comment at the podium, please speak into the microphone and begin by stating your name and city of residence. Should you not wish to speak, but instead to have your statement read aloud by the recorder, please provide her with a copy of that statement at her desk here in the front. Those who speak should do so courteously and briefly. Please be aware that the council and administration will not take any formal action on the matters that arise during public comment, but they may respond formally as appropriate. Also, please be aware of other means for addressing the council and administration directly regarding issues of concern by email, telephone, and social media, all of which are listed at the Provo City website, provo.org. Many issues also may be addressed directly by telephoning 311. The items scheduled for public hearing by themselves are items 5, 6, and 7. I invite any who wish to speak to approach the podium.
Melanie McCord, I don't know how many of you pay attention to some of the social media, but a suggestion came up there today that I thought I'd like to pass along. The lunches that the council members have been holding on Mondays have been really successful. I stopped going in the hopes that my presence would not be a stumbling block to some people. But they're still not getting the audience that they should have. There's an opportunity to have a one-on-one with council members that most of the people in town are still missing. And so Mike Rohn made a suggestion that instead of having lunches where the same people come all the time, to go out and duplicate what Lewis Billings used to call Mayor's Night Out, in that he would go out to the neighborhoods or the area, schedule a school because it was an official neighborhood meeting, and then invite just the people who were in that neighborhood to come. You've got 36 neighborhoods, but you've only got 6 areas. Eric just said you ought to do both. You ought to have an area meeting where several city council members attend, and then a neighborhood-specific meeting where just the representative of that district comes, and publicize it well through the neighborhood program, and then have it in an evening where more people could come. And you might even put some of the most current issues on the table. I know for Provost, I was just talking to Richard, if we had such a meeting at Provost, and talked about the further development of South State Street, I think we'd get a real good turnout. They were coming knowing that there was one issue that was going to be discussed, and then knowing that the council members were going to be there. Often when neighborhood meetings are held, we don't know that a neighborhood or that a council member is going to be there, and that we're going to have the opportunity to meet with just that council member. So it was a good compromise, I felt. Then I know I really enjoyed the lunches, but that's because it was an opportunity for me to talk. But if you could have council night out throughout the city with specific neighborhoods, I think I would help you however I could. And it was Mike Rohn's suggestion. I think it's a good one. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Sewell.
Mr. Chairman, since you've charged Ms. Santiago and I to sort of take charge of this, I just want to comment that I did notice that email from Mike, and I thought it was very thoughtful, and we'll definitely give that some consideration, and I appreciate you bringing that before us.
Ms. Santiago.
And I hope you'll still come to the lunches. That the intention was to have everybody feel comfortable coming to the lunches. So please don't stay away for any reason. We want everybody to come and feel comfortable and be able to say what they think. So.
Dave Connect, Provo South neighborhood. I agree with Melanie. I think that's a great idea. I read the comment online too. I'm one of the 6 people online. But, you know, joking aside, the reason I wanted to get up and speak is hopefully we are getting more of a awareness online. And currently there's a contest for, I guess, what, the most livable city, the place you'd prefer to live. Best town. Thank you. And I've gone on and voted, and I've also posted some pictures. And when I noticed that the comment section, and someone encouraged that we post pictures, so I took up the challenge, and a lot of other people did, and some really wonderful pictures have been posted there. And not just us. I mean, there's other people that are dead serious about this, including Duluth. And so you get to see a lot of these other communities. And I really think we've got the best overall community. It's just gorgeous. And I think Anchorage might be nice, but I haven't seen a lot of stuff posted, so I don't know what they're doing. And I would encourage people to get on there and vote, but also to go down in the comment section and look at all of the comments, people that say, you know, I came to Provo from California, thought this was the last place I'd ever want to live, and I love it. And now, some would say that this is just a great distraction, that we have to worry about the budget and BRT and all these things that we go to the lunches for or whatever. But I think it's a great opportunity to promote Provo in a positive light to people that are all over the country, and especially when they get to see pictures of how great it is here. And we want to bring business to Provo because we need the business and that money, the sales tax and everything that comes along with it. So I'm just excited and thought I'd get up and say so.
Thank you.
Eric Watkins, Provo. I'm one of the other people also online. But I wanted to talk about partnerships this evening. I know there's a joint resolution being put forth, and I just want to impress the importance of remembering who our partners are. It's not only UTA, it's MAG, UDOT, the City of Orem, and all the other people that have interest in coming to Provo and Orem. You know, there's traffic problems all over the city, and there will continue to be. But in my honest opinion, BRT isn't, and buses are not the problem. They're part of the solution. And so, as we try to get enhancements, we also have to remember we helped cause this problem, and so we also have an equal share in fixing it. And so that might include this parking study that you got that is being worked on. But I assure you there are other things that, you know, we as a city also need to be responsible for. UTA can't shoulder all the burden. Otherwise, you know, that's not a partnership. I've been, you know, alive for 35 years. I have a younger sibling, and we have to remember as parents that we need to treat siblings equally and fairly. And we just have to remember that as we pass that resolution. And thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Christensen, since the item I'm going to speak to is not up for public comment, very controversial issue. My comments, I want to take you back in time for a second. Nearly 250 years ago, the crossing of the Delaware, the Revolutionary War. At that time, you had a man, Thomas Paine, wrote a letter, the Sunshine Soldier and the Summer Soldier and Sunshine Patriot. Why did he write that? Because many soldiers were leaving the war. They were trying to leave. Things were getting too hard. My comments are to those, to the four of you brave individuals who stood up before against the opposition and voted no on BRT to protect property rights, which is a God-given right, to be fiscally responsible. That's how we grow business, is fiscally responsibility and respecting property rights. My advice to you and encouragement, hopefully, is don't be the sunshine patriot, don't be the summer soldier, be the patriots, be the elected representatives that your constituency elected you to do to protect property rights and be fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zachary Harmon. I live in Provo. I just had one concern of what, I'm kind of new at this, so I was just wondering what the energy telecom debt fund was and how I can get more information on kind of where to go to see where our taxes and all this money, the general fund money is spent.
Thank you. We would be happy to help you with that. Would you email me at john@provo.org?
John@provo.org? Yes.
And I'll give you all the information you would like.
That'd be great.
Great questions, and I'd be happy to get those answers to you.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's also a warning, by the way. All the information.
I appreciate it.
Steve Wygant, Provo. One comment and a question. I tried to get online today to listen to the work group meeting, which I was very interested in, and for the third or fourth time that I've tried to do that, the audio was completely just almost not there. It sounded like a cat fight underwater. It was completely, and maybe there was a cat fight underwater, I don't know. But I was very interested in what I think was Professor Larry Walters' presentation in terms of the budget process. So I was able to see the slides, not hear any of the discussion, which was very disappointing. So I wondered if you're aware of that problem and if something can be done to remedy that, but then also to make Professor Walters' presentation available to the public. I think it's a very important information that the public should be aware of, and so I just ask you to consider that, what might be done. Then I'm also concerned or wondering if you will have public comment available in terms of the BRT resolution.
There will be no comment.
No comment
from the public.
Okay. Well, can I just add a note of thanks for the stronger language in this resolution as compared to the resolution that was online available earlier, which had a lot of mights and mays. This has more shalls, and I appreciate that stronger language in terms of considering the mitigation efforts that the neighborhoods put forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I will refer the matter of the audio quality to our executive director in hopes that that will not recur. Where the cats had the cats not been fighting, you would have heard a request on the heels of Professor Walters' presentation that the slides he presented be posted immediately to the city website, and that has taken place. So it's all there, and rightly so. Are there others who wish to speak?
I don't really wish to speak, but I'll charge for it. Councilwoman Santiago, if you have a chance with Paul Warner, don't ask for Garth Brooks. Ask for the Rolling Stones.
Excuse me, can you state your name?
Don't squat. Randy Rainier, Provo City. Regarding the joint resolution, amen to Steve Wygant. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your time. And then just an additional request that those of us that are on 9th East, that are residents of 9th East, there's several of us that are here this evening, if we could be intimately involved in those mitigations, because we feel that they impact us in a profound way. Particularly egress, ingress, coming in and out of our properties, and the bike path versus the bike lane conversation. There's a lot of energy around the safety of a bike path, hybrid bike path sidewalk versus an authentic, functioning, safe bike lanes on both sides of 9th East. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sue Cox. I don't actually reside here in Provo. I reside in St. George. We have 3 properties on 9th East. And my comment to this council would reflect the sentiments that Randy has just expressed. And that is just that our voices be heard for those of us who have properties actually on 9th East, whose lives will be most impacted by, the coming of the BRT. It's of great concern to us that those who are left as residents on 9th East have a safe environment, that as we're trying to design in detail exactly, what that cosmetic of 9th East will look like, that we consider that we want first and foremost safety, and as we're trying to create a buffer, some kind of a green zone, that we understand how the ingress and egress actually works on those properties, because as Randy was describing with the bicycles, if the bicycle path it is a path instead of a lane, as people are coming and going from their properties, and they have to go to the road itself before they can see whether it's safe to turn onto 9th East. And if we have a designated bicycle path that is incorporated with the sidewalk, there are so many driveways and intersections. It's a serious issue with the safety of the bicyclers, as well as, frankly, those that are driving. So I just would ask and would reiterate the importance of working together to make sure that whatever happens is in sync with those property owners. I think we pretty much have one voice, and I would ask that that consideration be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others, please? We'll move to the next matter. A joint resolution of the Provo Mayor and Municipal Council supporting bus rapid transit for the cities of Provo and Orem, and superseding Municipal Council Resolution 2014-15. I invite our council, Brian Jones, to make any introductory comment he may wish to, and then we'll turn to the mayor for presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. I don't know that I really have any comments at this time. This proposal came up after the last council meeting when there were some different options discussed, and I think the original proposal for the joint resolution came from the mayor's office, and I have seen and reviewed it, as have the council members, but I don't have additional comments, although I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members and those who have joined us today. I might mention that there was an online copy of this out for a number of days. Some modifications have been made to that. And if you don't have a copy, I believe we've got copies out on the table, and I believe the council members have a copy. I think it's fair to say no small amount of effort has gone into creating a resolution that encompasses all the desires and wishes of the council members and the administration. And for the last several weeks, we've been earnestly working with council members to find the words that would articulate the many strong feelings that we have on this issue. And we present to you tonight a resolution that is a compilation of hopefully all of those feelings and passions in a way that at least touches and gives a nod to all the things that are important to members of the administration and the council and our partners. And in saying that, I acknowledge that that it is a document that's not perfect and has gone through a lot of revisions, and some words have been analyzed for hours, just a couple of words. I think it's fair, at least in my mind, and hopefully the council's and our public's, that this signals a transition from a very long period of a debate about BRT in our city, whether or not we would have it at all, and where it would be. And now it signals a transition, I think, with this vote to a coordinated effort on behalf of everybody, the administration and council members and residents, to make this the absolutely best project that it can be. And I think the standard is we want to at the end of this say this is epic and feel good about that. And if we use that as our benchmark, I think that's a great benchmark. And while we're doing this, certainly to keep an eye to those, and we've heard from some of them tonight, who stand to be impacted in dramatic ways by this. And a lot of the time in the resolution has been spent on how do we appropriately address their concerns and how do we give them some degree of comfort. And I would like to personally express work both within the confines of this project and outside of the confines of this project to leave the path of BRT to be a fabulous path. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So within the confines of the project, we have $150 million that has hopefully committed from the federal government and here locally. And to use those dollars in the absolute best way we can to enhance this route, and to be very aggressive about that, and to work with our partners and UTA to find solutions to situations that are coming about as a result of BRT and as a result of some roads that already have some problems. And to the extent that we bump outside of the scope of BRT, to also be very aggressive with looking for resources to solve problems. It is possible that we wish and aspire to do more than we would do if BRT was coming, simply because there are already safety and issues that are inherent with these roads. And to call upon our partners at UDOT and UTA and MAG and within the city to find resources, if necessary, outside of this project to fulfill those expectations of ourselves and of our residents. And as we do that, to acknowledge that there are some limitations. If in a perfect world on 9th East we would have wide lanes and bike lanes and park strips and pedestrian paths and bicycle paths, we'd have it all. But we have some limitations, primarily in space, let alone dollars. And so as we work together to find the best answers, given those limitations, and stretching those limitations to as much as we can, I think it's our intent, those of us who've worked hard on this resolution, to articulate that, but even beyond the resolution, to commit ourselves to this process, and a process where we really work hard to make this a great project. I think finally I would express my appreciation to council members and members of the public who have been passionate about this, for their patience with me and the administration, as we also have been passionate about this. I know of no one along in this dialogue who has not wanted the very best for Provo. And while it is true that we have sometimes differed in opinions about what's best for Provo, I truly believe everybody has approached this from their perspective and in their heart, trying to protect Provo and protect our neighborhoods and protect all that we love and all that we're voting for as the best town. So with that, I recommend to you the resolution that's before you, and I welcome any questions that you have of me or the others that have been busily engaged in this.
Thank you, Mayor. I invite the council's conversation about this proposed resolution. Mr. Winterton.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I am, too, as the mayor stated, very grateful for the patience of the residents and our partners in the construction of the new bus rapid transit system. I know for a long time we've been asking for this in our community. Our residents have, and we're grateful for the partnership that we have with you, with all our partners, and especially for the influence of the residents. I know there were some major concerns as we started this on input, and I think we've all learned things as we've gone forward. We're grateful for the patience that has been shown, and we pray and we just hope that those things will continue to go forward and we'll be able to work together as partners now. Our route on University Avenue has been a little bit more concrete on the southern end of University Avenue, and so they've been able to do a little bit more design and work on that. As I've been able to be involved on that route and talk about with other members of the community, I was really impressed with the way the community has reacted to this, especially on the University Avenue part, and the listening ear that we've had from the partners on construction of this. They have given the people on University Avenue many things that they were really concerned about, and I hope that that will continue as we go forward on 9th East and some of the other areas of our community.
Thank you. Are there others? Mr. Garrett.
I'm interested to know, I assume, that our partners at UTA have received an updated copy of the resolution and also are supportive of the content and encouraged by the content.
And maybe if I could articulate on that a little bit, it changed a number of times today, and they weren't large changes. Like I say, we spent several hours on several words, and I don't know that they fully had time to digest that back at headquarters, and hopefully they can move forward with our intent to make this a great project and feel good about it.
Thank you.
If there is no further comment, I invite a motion. Oh, I beg your pardon. Mr. Sewell?
Well, this has been quite an experience. I just want to express appreciation to all who have been involved, to Mayor Curtis, members of the council, our residents and neighborhoods who've been involved in this. I feel like especially making mention of Councilwoman Santiago's prodigious efforts on this issue. The neighborhood chair, Melissa Kendall, and there have been many others, I think, from the neighborhood, and some with differing opinions who've been involved in this, and I appreciate everyone who's contributed to the conversation, and I'm happy that I think we're at a point where we have the same goal now, and that is to make this the best project possible and to be partners with UTA and MAG and UDOT and anyone else that's involved in this. So, thank you. It's been a privilege.
Thank you. Ms. Santiago.
Probably said too much already, but I would like to first of all thank my colleagues. I feel very lucky to be able to interact with these fine people, to be able to get advice and to bounce ideas off and to try to come to a resolve for very difficult and sometimes just very difficult issues. And I'm just really, really grateful for good people to work with and for their desire to make this great and to do what's best for our community, and also grateful for Melissa Kendall with the Wasatch neighborhood. They've had 5 neighborhood meetings. I think that's unheard of when it comes to getting input from a neighborhood by a neighborhood chair, but appreciate her efforts in being able to get the word out. And I think they're probably one of the most well-versed neighborhoods in the city when it comes to bus rapid transit because of some of those efforts. But also grateful for Leo Lyons and for Bill Graff from the Joaquin neighborhood and Paul Evans from the Pleasant View neighborhood. I was able to ride the neighborhood with them and to talk about BRT and to be able to find out what things of concern were for them and how we could soften the impacts. And ultimately, just want to say thank you to Mayor for being able to take my very direct and open questions and conversations that we've had, and I appreciate your ability to come to resolve and your ability to negotiate things, and grateful for the answers that we were able to get to our questions from the Hales Consortium, Civil Science, Hales Engineering, and Metro Analytics. Grateful that they were able to answer some questions that we still had, and grateful for UTA's efforts, the UTA MAG Lochner group that have been able to educate us, especially early on what bus rapid transit actually was, and to provide the Transit Academy, be able to get more information. Grateful for the outreach there. So I am grateful mostly to be at a point where we're ready to move forward with this, and I appreciate as the mayor said, the efforts that have gone into getting a resolution that we can all feel good about. So thank you.
Thank you. I invite a motion to approve the joint resolution. Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution that's been prepared, a joint resolution from Provo Mayor and Municipal Council supporting the 2013 locally preferred alternative, commonly known as Route 4, as the bus rapid transit alignment that best meets the needs of Provo and Orem cities.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Winterton, thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I'm not sure the exact protocol, but being a joint resolution, I would enjoy raising my hand with yours and in support of the resolution.
Please be welcome to do so. Anything further? All in favor, please manifest. Are there any opposed? The vote is unanimous in the affirmative. Thank you. I don't know if there is a clearinghouse as such for the inordinately high number of communications that were that framed this particular issue over several months' time. No doubt the mayor's office has a good share of those, as does our office. But I suggest strongly that we bring as much material together as we can to serve as a reference work, if you will, for the stakeholder groups that have been convened jointly by the mayor's office and by the Utah Transit Authority, including the email that arrived today from Dr. Kendall, the neighborhood chair, so that sort of under one cover we have everything that's been offered. Not asking you to index it, mind you. I don't think it's necessary to make it. Thank you very much. Now we take up a resolution supporting the Provo City Sustainability and Natural Resources Committee. Mayor, would you please introduce this?
Be delighted to. Thank you. In approximately 4 years ago, as we did the Vision 2030 process, one of the 13 subcommittees that was created was a sustainability committee, and they were given the assignment of developing a language for Vision 2030 for the sustainability portion. Thanks in large part to the efforts of Don Jarvis and the commitment of Mr. Jarvis, Dr. Jarvis, that committee continued to meet. And embraced a scope far beyond the creation of that document. We heard in work session several weeks ago a long list of accomplishments that they have been able to accomplish and put forth in the city. And the committee has been a little bit organic in nature, and I'm almost hesitant to, the more formal we make it, we run the risk of damaging that organic nature of this committee. So as Don and I talked, we felt like it was certainly appropriate, and maybe at some point to go beyond this, but certainly now, to join together in a joint resolution expressing appreciation and support for that committee and recognizing their efforts and acknowledging that both the administration and the City Council supports the great work of this committee, and that's the reason for this proposed joint resolution before us this evening.
I'm not sure of your choice of words, but it seems apropos for a Sustainability and Natural Resources Committee to be organic. Well done. I invite conversation about the proposed joint resolution. Please.
I've really appreciated the opportunity I've had to get to know the members of this committee. I attended 3 of their meetings and took a trip with Don Jarvis to the Net Zero conference for a few days and participated in one of their anti-idling activities. And they're a very passionate group that I think are making a difference. And I do think that the council needs to be more involved in these issues because these are crucial long-term issues that we're going to have to deal with: clean air, our water supply, and those kind of things. As far as the resolution itself, I liked all of the whereas clauses, the background information. I do have some concerns about the actual language of the resolution itself. Of course, expressing our appreciation, that's always appropriate. Support and commitment to, I'm not sure exactly what that means or what the practical effect of that would be. In the next sentence, the council expresses its commitment to consult with the committee regularly. I mean, I think it's good, and I think we need to do that, but it's not very specific in terms of how that interaction would occur. And then on the last one, the municipal council expresses support for the mayor to take such administrative actions necessary to support the committee in its efforts. So I've got 2 concerns there depending on what this means, and I'm not sure what it means. Maybe Mr. Jones could help us with this. On my first reading, it seemed like we're expressing our support for abilities or capabilities that the administration already has. So I'm not sure if this has any practical effect. And then the second part of the question is?
In short, no. I mean, essentially, this particular committee, because it's not a committee that's codified or created by code or ordinance or resolution, is a committee that's been put together and that reports to the mayor. It's part of his administrative function, and this joint resolution is a way of the council and the mayor expressing support for what they're doing. There's no reason that support couldn't be rescinded if there came a point where that was no longer the council's desire, but this particular paragraph does not authorize the mayor to do anything that he wouldn't already be authorized to do.
Okay, so I guess I was hoping for a little something more, maybe, with this. Something a little more specific, or some designation of a structure. And I don't want to try to propose something off the top of my head, but at one point we'd considered maybe a council committee, or maybe there could be a council subcommittee, or having an assigned council member, or something that's a little more a little more specific than this. So even though I definitely support the concept of the council being more involved with this committee and with these issues, I would actually prefer that we continue this and try to put a little more meat in this somehow.
It's likely that the resolution will not change anything. That is, the committee will continue to go about its business in consultation with the administration and with the municipal council. Rather than targeting the joint resolution for some meatier content, might it be reasonable to approve the joint resolution as a statement of the spirit of endorsement, and then as you see fit, perhaps as a consequence of a further experience with the committee and certainly others of the council, to make a specific proposal for that meatiness, then we'll just come back to it and we can easily revise.
Mr. Chair, could I also make a follow-up comment? One of the things we talked about in the work session when this brought forward was that, I mentioned this briefly, we didn't have a resolution in front of us at that time, but the resolution mirrors this, which is that some of the ambiguity is intentional, and the reason for that is because under state law, if a committee or commission or board is created by city code, it then becomes subject to various state statutes and becomes subject to restrictions and that may impact, it makes their ability to function much less flexible in the sense that they then have to abide by, for instance, the Open Meetings Act and maintain, they have to keep minutes, they have to publish notice of their meetings, and various other restrictions that at that point comes to, it impacts both their work and it also impacts city resources to an extent, because then there has to be some dedication of city resources to meet those requirements. In the work session when we talked about those, my recollection at least was that we talked about not at this point wanting to go that far and have this be an official city board or commission created by ordinance. So the vagueness in the resolution of support is intentional in order to avoid that. Certainly doing that or going that far is a viable policy option, but at least my understanding was that the council had not expressed a policy intent of wanting to go that far at this point. And nothing about this would, the vagueness of this resolution certainly would prohibit the council from forming their own internal committees and designating how they wanted those internal committees to interface with this committee. So it's just a policy question as to whether or not you want to go that far or not.
I might add, if we were to measure pound for pound effectiveness of committees, that the Bicycle Committee and the Sustainability Committee would shoot right up, rocket right up to the top of that productivity list. And to some degree, it's, I use the word organic, but it's this concept that if they want to go hand out non-idling stickers, they don't need to notice that. They don't need to have a city staff member at that meeting. They can just go do that. And this particular group has flourished in that environment. And I think that's the part I want to be careful of is that we don't break it. The second thing I would perhaps suggest, and Mr. Sewell, this might be something you could help with, is what do we really want from this committee? And currently it's not been, for instance, setting policy. It's been going out and doing these great things. And it could be that as you look at the revamp of Vision 2030, that is where the real policy meat is. And this group would be very instrumental and certainly should be consulted in that. But in their day-to-day activities and the things that they're doing, much like the Bicycle Committee, they're just highly productive. They're flourishing and doing well. And this is an attempt to say, we love it. Thank you.
Further comment? Yes, Mr. Sewell.
Okay, so if we want to keep it informal and not have this really have any effect, then it almost seems to me like some sort of resolution of appreciation would be more appropriate than something that almost looks like we're transferring some authority or doing something official, when it sounds like that's not the intent, from what I'm gathering. So, and one more comment. The comment about policy, I think, is important. One of the reasons I haven't been going to the meetings lately, although I really enjoyed them, is more than half of the time is not on policy issues. And although the activities that they participate in are very important, I've found it's difficult to do all the things I need to do as a council member with the time that I have. So I was just thinking that if there was some way we could sort of split that, or maybe have the committee chair more directly engage with the council on policy issues or something along that line, that would be more appropriate. So even though I'm a big fan of the committee, I don't want to put things to add to the size of our code book for something that I just don't see any real effect from. So that's where I'm at.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Winter.
I do see an effect, and because as we give them the support, I think that we're implying many things also for future. I think there's some financial possibilities here, but at this point, we would like the committee to come back and recommend those things to us. And I think that we're not only just giving them an attaboy, I think we're giving them permission to go forward and to maybe broaden their scope and to look at things that will influence policy.
Thank you. It is Mr. Harvey from our staff who has been assigned to that particular working committee in the revision of the Vision 2030 statement. And we'll ask him to be sure to involve Mr. Sewell and any other interested members of the council as that committee does its work and returns with a set of suggestions for the next phase of that Vision 30 process. Other comments? Mr. Garrett.
I join in thanking Mr. Jarvis and those working with him for their outstanding work and commitment to sustainability issues in our city. And I move that we approve this resolution supporting the Provo Sustainability and Natural Resources Committee.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Hales. Second. All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? I note that Mr. Sewell is opposed. The other 6 members in favor. Thank you. The motion carries. We now turn to Matt Taylor, our Executive Director, for a presentation as part of a public hearing on an ordinance adopting a budget for Provo City Corporation for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30, 2015 in the amount of $195,203,754 and amending the consolidated fee schedule and sections 4.02.40 and 4.04.050 of the City Code.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Just a brief overview of the intent and purpose of tonight's hearing. The intent is not to approve the budget tonight. By tradition, the Municipal Council has always heard the budget on the first Tuesday of the month, the first Tuesday of June, following the mayor's presental of that budget. For the public's knowledge, earlier today was a work session discussion that was led by the Council's Budget Committee, and our apologies for the audio difficulties. We run a bootstrap production, try not to increase our budget, and occasionally we have glitches that, without disrupting the entire meeting, we couldn't overcome today. So our apologies for that, but we will make the presentation available first thing in the morning, and I believe there will be subsequent opportunities. The Municipal Council plans to have some follow-up discussions later this summer with the public. Many of the issues that were raised in that public meeting this afternoon. Moving forward, just a few other items. The Municipal Council staff is also reviewing the budget in some focused areas. We will present our findings next Tuesday at a special council budget retreat. There'll be likely other topics of discussion. We'll refine that agenda at the council leadership meeting this week. The council will have a final public hearing on 2 weeks hence. That would be 17th. Thank you. Same time, 5:30 p.m. And however, at that point, the council does have a couple options, either to approve the budget or to enter into a truth in taxation process. Although I don't think that's anticipated at this point, that is certainly a possibility that would extend the budget process into August. As far as specifics, the administration has made their presentations to the council as well. Many of the highlights are contained in the mayor's budget letter, and I do not plan to go over those tonight. But if the public is interested in what those highlights are, I would recommend them to read that letter, as I believe it contains many of the salient points, in addition to today's work session discussion. Other than that, I
Thank you.
return it to the chair.
I wish to observe that over the past several months, the council has been treated to a series of presentations in a workshop setting by members of the finance department of the city, responsible for the preparation of the budget in coordination with the mayor's office and department directors and others. And there has been, not just this year, but last year, that may have been the first major effort, but there has been a continuing and very substantial effort to share the budget in a citizen-friendly way. And I commend the work of that office and of the administration generally in making that sustained effort. The documents that have emerged are impressive for their accessibility, for the consolidation of information in ways that don't require an accounting degree, and for that we thank you. Now, let me invite anyone who wishes to speak to the budget to do so. I should say the proposed budget.
First of all, thank you for creating the budget committee. That was Dr. Walter's presentation at work session was really impressive. I would like to get hold of that. If that's a PowerPoint, I'd like to have the link and be able to post that for other people who were not there. Speaking about their technical difficulties at work session, I had to come to work session today because I wasn't, of course, able to trust that I'd be able to see it again at home. And so this is the fourth work session in a row that has been technically
flawed.
Yeah. So spend some money, fix the problem. But if I could get that. Second is I'd like the details of the budget retreat for next week, where and when, so that I can post that as well. Finally, just a statement of very strongly held belief that I have seen, that I've gained after almost 20 years here watching the council, and that is policy making begins with money allocating. When you take hold of the review, oversight, and the allocation of funds, you set policy. This is where you do it. And so I applaud you for your courage and your dedication in taking this on. You do it very well. I don't always do it very well, but I'm grateful for your efforts. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. McCord. I'll ask Mr. Taylor to make sure to send you the information about accessing Dr. Walters' presentation as well as details of the retreat. Are there others who wish to comment about the proposed budget? I invite a motion to adjourn as the Municipal Council and reconvene as the Provo City Stormwater Special Service District. Mr. Hales, thank you. Please, Ms. Santiago.
I'd just like to say that being involved with this committee, this budget committee, has really been a learning experience for me. We have some very talented and wise people on this committee. Larry Walters, a professor at BYU, who gave our presentation today, but also George Stewart, who's been former mayor, former council member, very, very astute when it comes to city budgets, and the other members, Becky Lockhart, Jane Carlisle, and David Armand, who've all contributed. Really appreciate that, and also Gary Winterton, who's very familiar with the council budget, and really appreciate the opportunity to learn from them. But one thing that I feel as a council that we should have a discussion about our intent statements, because as I was reading through some of our budget, our intent statements, I noticed that they were outdated. They reference things that have already happened or they just need to be updated. And hopefully at our retreat we can talk about what our goals are. That was actually one of the first questions Mr. Walters asked in our committee meeting is, what are your goals? And so moving forward and having a sustainable budget into the future and being able to plan and budget for the things that we want to see happen, as has been mentioned, that this budget is our most important tool for getting things done. I feel that we need to have our goals very clearly stated within our intent statements. And the mayor mentioned earlier in work session today that our intent statements are his roadmap, and that's where the administration gets our clues too for what's important to the council. So if I can just put a plug in for making sure that we discuss and actually come up with our intent statements so that it's very clear what our goals are moving forward, that would be really a great thing. It would be very helpful.
Thank you. Mr. Hales has moved that we adjourn as the Municipal Council and reconvene as the Provo City Stormwater Special Service District. Is there a second? Mr. Garrett, thank you kindly. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Mr. Taylor.
Same protocol as... I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. Did you reconvene? Special? Okay. Then this is the same protocol as I gave you an overview for the last item.
Thank you. I invite anyone who wishes to speak to the matter to please come forward. On the assumption that this will be the shortest Provo City Stormwater Special District Service ever held, I invite a motion to adjourn and reconvene as the Redevelopment Agency of Provo. Ms. Santiago, thank you. A second. Mr. Van Buren. All in favor? Thank you. Mr. Hales.
Thank you, Chair Miller. We'll now consider, as the Redevelopment Agency of Provo, a public hearing on a resolution adopting a budget for the Redevelopment Agency of Provo City Corporation for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015, in the amount of $4,574,000 and $246 in addition. Mr. Taylor.
For this item, actually, it may be better to turn to Mr. Glauser, I believe is here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I think the drill is the same as for the other two budgets you just considered. As you know, we have spent a lot of time over the last several months reviewing, particularly the federal grant portions of the budget, but I'd be happy to try and answer any other questions or clarify anything you'd like.
Are there any questions, Mr. Glauser? Mayor.
May I? This is just a little window of an opportunity I'd like to take advantage of. We don't want to say goodbye to Paul before he goes, but I'm not sure we'll have a chance with him in front of the council to fully express our appreciation to him. He will be dearly missed. He's been a deep part of so many advancements in our downtown area and throughout the city. So, Paul, let us take this opportunity to tell you thank you.
Absolutely. Stand and applaud you personally.
Very good. Any further comment then from anyone in the public or on the council? All right. At this point, there's not a resolution to pass, so we will just adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Redevelopment Agency of Provo meeting and to reconvene as the municipal council. Actually, to adjourn, period.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you.